Good evening, everybody. It is 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. On a Monday, it must mean it's time for your weekly Calamity Jane livestream. James, how are you doing on this evening?
You know, uh, I would be lying if I said just dandy.
Well, I mean, we've been
As
off for
you,
2 weeks for life reasons, so
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't
So
surprise me.
yeah. So I mean, and we won't spend much time on this, but yeah, I was in Utah, helping my mom find a car, and then also watching my nephews play basketball and baseball. So that was fun. Car shopping for me is kind of fun too, even though some people hate it. I didn't mind that, but that's the adrenaline rush part of me enjoying
Uh,
that aspect of it. And then also ended up going to Texas to go see a niece perform in her dance recital. And sadly, we had a death in the family. An uncle passed away, so we had the funeral service this weekend. So it's a lot of happiness and cool stuff, and then also sad stuff all mixed in. So I am officially back, but man, I am a little bit knocked out
yeah,
as a
I can only
result.
imagine. Well, you know what?
Yeah,
I have a lot to rant about tonight,
good,
so if you just want
good.
to draw, I will. I'll start talking, and then I'll stop talking when I have to breathe.
That sounds like a good plan. So before I even roll into when we work on something, how are you doing? Like I didn't get a chance to even flip that back over to you because it's been 2 weeks, so I haven't even get a chance to.
Yeah, I no, I've been. It's honestly, I've been crazy busy. I mean, not for
Hmm.
family reasons. I've just been doing a lot of theater. I was had a bunch of different shows that I was teching. I had rehearsals for all of those. I'm actually in a show, and we had sort of the dry run, right, for it
Hmm.
last week, which was I thought went extremely well. Our opening night show is going to be on May 10th, but basically that ate up every night that I had for the last 2 weeks, even including weekends. It wasn't until I think yesterday that I had a night off in 2 weeks. Um,
Oh,
but despite all of that, I did manage to find a little bit of time to. This is a great transition to in those 2 weeks watch the first season of Fallout and on
hmm.
Amazon Prime, and then like dive into New Vegas, which is one of the Fallout games I never really spent any time with.
Okay.
And so we're off to the races there. But yeah, I was busy, but not in the same sort of like life way that you were busy.
Yeah, but busy. That kind of busy is good though.
Yeah, I'm not
Uh,
complaining. I mean, that's absolutely not a complaint. I was. I
yeah,
mean, I'm worn out. I'm kind of ready to have a couple of days off.
yeah,
But it
sure.
was, I was absolutely uh, very happy to be a part of all of the things that I was a part of. Um, and yeah, and it's I got paid for most of it too, so it's just like wow,
Nice.
there's no losing there. So,
Oh,
um, but yeah, I did manage to squeeze in a lot of Fallout. If you haven't, I think you said that you've seen the first two episodes at this point, and I'm before I
yeah.
go into my long hour long tirade, which I'm sure this will be. I'm curious about what your thoughts. But before we do that, like, what are you going to be working on tonight?
All right. Let me. I'll share screen. Yeah. We'll talk about Fallout. Sounds like we've got our goal in mind for tonight to talk about.
Okay.
When I last left off a couple weeks ago, I was working on the Calamity Jane hiding behind the rocking chair section. And then we have the Warhawk coming up in the animatic. And then she eventually gets kicked off by the swinging chair off screen. So I'll work on this post tonight while we
Yeah.
kind of chill and talk about what Fallout and yeah, go from there.
It is interesting. Before I go into Fallout, it's looking at all of
Hmm.
these very specific poses that you've been working on recently. It, it,
Hmm.
it, it just occurred to me how vitally important pilots are for animation because they're so. I mean, because you're literally going from nothing to everything in one episode, and I feel like the pilot is doing a lot of legwork, not just in the standpoint of establishing the world and the characters in the world, but also just from a functional standpoint. I can already see that the pose you're about to work on, we're going to use that 1,000 times. Like Calamity getting
Yeah.
hit in the chest and moving somewhere. Like, come on.
Yeah,
Like,
that pose right here.
yeah, yeah. She's a hero. She's going to get knocked
This
around constantly.
that could be
Um,
an iconic pose for Calamity,
oh,
especially
yeah.
with how growing into growing into herself and trying to figure out how to use her powers. This is
Yeah.
gonna happen to her a lot.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting as you've sort of developed a lot of the assets as we've worked on this cartoon, um, how much of this is reusable, right? And it's this is obviously anybody who's been following us for some time. I mean, we've been doing this for years at this point. You're the only animator, and animation is it's a labor of love, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's remarkable to me to think that like when we finish this episode and it comes out and then we move on to the second episode, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it will take half as long, right?
Yep.
Because
That's the Yeah, that's the plan. Is we're doing things in Adobe Animate, quote unquote Flash. I'm doing everything vector wise with flat
mhm,
shapes, so it's a lot more forgiving for us. So that way I don't have to worry about line weight as much and like trying to
mhm,
make sure everything looks perfectly Disney quality with them. No, everything's very and it's very forgiving. That's the hope. Also, like the nature of Calamity Jane is she's amphibious. She's an amphibian,
yeah,
so she's already pretty flexible with just her person, with how she moves and how she's supposed to do stuff and everything. Anyway, so in a weird kind of way. I don't know if meta is the right word, but in a meta way, I'll use it incorrectly. The flexibility of how we're approaching the production process is how Calamity Jane is as a character anyway. And
I
that's just
don't
a
think
happy,
that's yeah. I don't think you're using that
happy accident.
inappropriately. I think
Okay,
that
all
yeah,
right.
yeah, at a meta level, looking within the fiction and without the fiction simultaneously, it serves two purposes. So yeah.
And I
Um,
mean, and another thing I want to kind of throw out there, I thought that was interesting too, because you kind of been zooming out a little bit and talking about the poses. The other thing I kind of find fun, which I don't think I've ever done in animation, is actually hanging out with the writer, with the writing team, you
yeah,
and me
the
animating me,
entire writing room
the
is here.
entire writing
The
staff.
entire
Yeah,
writing staff is right here.
yeah, but it's kind of it's a different, like normally animators we hang out in a little bullpen and we all kind of throw jokes at each other and throw nerf guns. But this is pretty interesting because we live in a time where you and I can zoom and we're kind of bouncing ideas off back as I'm animating or we're talking about writing or stories, and I think that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of unique. I haven't seen that scenario animation wise. Like usually writers can walk over and then see what the animators are doing, but then it's usually they're in a black box, writers in a
Right,
black box. It's very
right,
separate.
yeah,
But for us, because it's just us and we are the entire division for each side, whatever, we're hanging out and we're talking about other random stuff, which you and I used to do all the time at Warner Bros. Anyway, over cubicles, right? And
right,
stuff like that.
right. Yeah,
So
no, I agree.
completely, yeah.
It is cool. I do like that, and I think, I mean, I understand the necessity on larger productions of siloing and just the
Yep.
specialization. I mean, you just don't have a choice, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
that is one of the benefits of a smaller team, the smallest possible team, um, and that we do just kind of get to sit next to each other and talk about it, and we get to share our geekiness and all of our random thoughts that we have while we're making all these animations. But
Yeah.
speaking of
Yeah.
geeky thoughts, see, I'm really good at transitions tonight. I
Yeah, you
am
are. Yeah, you're on a roll tonight, man.
nailing the
Jeez.
transitions tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you watched the first two episodes of Fallout. I have seen the whole season at this point, and before I have thoughts. I have thoughts because I always have thoughts.
hmm
I am curious about what your first impressions are after two episodes.
I think it's terrific. So I guess I'll give some backstory as well. I don't even remember which Fallout it was. I'm assuming it's just called Fallout, but I played it on
You
Xbox 360.
Oh no, that was definitely Fallout 3.
Fallout 3.
The
Okay.
original
All right.
Fallout came out in 1997, and it was an
Oh,
overhead isometric tile-based RPG, turn-based RPG. Yeah,
got it. Yeah, no, I played the third person where you can zoom in, like the classic Bethesda thing they did for a long
yep.
time. Well, I think they're still doing. Zoom in if you want, be first person, or go out and play. But I played the first couple hours of Fallout 3 based on what and I saw all the same kind of tropey stuff that I saw on the show, such as Fallout Boy with the thumbs up. I thought that was kind of fun to see. There's little echoes of stuff from the game that I kind of enjoy. Even getting out of the vault, I remember doing that and hearing Liam Neeson's
Hmm.
fatherly voice kind of guiding you through the tutorial aspect of it. And then I got in the world, out in the world, and I got the gist of it. It's post-apocalyptic. And then you have this at least for me, I remember the big giant gear you have in your hand.
Pip
All
Boy.
that stuff is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, yeah. All that stuff is very iconic to the game, and it was cool to see those elements. And me being a casual, even less than a casual player, seeing all that stuff was kind of cool to see fan service for that. Um, so we watched the first two episodes, and I thought it was great. So far so good. I love you're great with the names. I can't remember the actor's name. The neutral slash villain guy with the
Oh,
nose cut off.
the ghoul. Yeah, Walton Goggins.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, he's so everything
Oh my
he's
God.
in,
He
I
is
thoroughly enjoy.
one of my favorite actors, and this
So
might actually be my favorite performance he's ever done.
yeah, okay. So I don't know if you had a chance to watch. I think it's called the Mighty Gemstones or whatever.
I have,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I really enjoyed his role in that too. But everything he does again is great. But I'm probably with you. I've only seen two episodes, and I just when he comes on
He
camera, it's
is.
like, oh man, I can't wait to
I
see what he
mean,
has to say. Yeah.
ever since Justified, it's just like this guy is. He's
Hmm.
just got talent, right? And
Hmm.
um, even I mean, Justified is a phenomenal show, and he. This is just I don't know. It's just he's just so good. Like I don't know. Anyway, I could go on and on about that one performance, but everybody is phenomenally good
Hmm.
in the show, and I don't remember what Maximus is real his actor's name. I've never seen that actor before, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the lady who plays Lucy Ella Purnell is just so good. I mean, just I guess it's like the performances are great, but so much of it comes down to the writing as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
The
Yep.
Jonathan Nolan, Chris Nolan's brother, was the showrunner on this. And obviously,
Okay.
he did the first season of he did Westworld as well, which the first season was great, but whatever.
Yep. When it fell
Um,
apart. Yeah.
but
And also, just a side note, Lisa
yeah,
Joy also is an executive producer on the show, and she was also part of Westworld
yeah,
as a writer, I think, as well.
yep, that's
But yeah,
right.
sorry.
No, that's right. It might be one of my favorite TV pilots of all time. The amount of information and world building and storytelling that they did in one episode, and it didn't feel rushed, and it was
Hmm.
still under an hour long. That is, I mean, it was just exceptional writing, just unbelievable how much information you introduced all three main protagonists.
Hmm.
Obviously the ghoul had the least amount of screen time, but even still, you got a substantial amount of information. I mean, like that last sequence where they dig him out of the grave and then he murders those bounty. Oh my god! I watched that scene like 2 times. Like it was so amazing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love this show, and I am a fan of Fallout.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I'm like an uber fan, but I am definitely a fan of the series. I never played, I played Fallout 1 and 2, but I didn't play either one of them to completion, right? And I did finish Fallout 3, but I never finished Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 4, right? So I'm a fair weather Fallout fan, but I love
Okay.
the world, I love the aesthetics, I love the fiction around it. And it was
Hmm.
so clear to me that the people who made the show, if they weren't fans when they started working on it, they became fans as they were working on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say, and I don't know how true this is. I would love for this to be true, but who knows? Ella Purnell, the girl who plays Lucy, said that she had never played any of the Fallout games, but she is a big gamer, and so when she got casted, she actually went back and played
Hmm.
Fallout 3 all the way through just to get a sense of what it was,
Yeah.
and like she
Hmm.
became a Fallout fan after playing that, and I appreciated the fact that
Yeah.
she took the time to sort of immerse herself in the fiction of the world to play that character. I mean, because the whole show rests on her shoulders, right? If
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
if her character doesn't work, it doesn't matter how cool Walton Goggins is because the rest of the show isn't going to work, you know.
Hmm.
And she did a great job. I mean, I loved Maximus, I loved Lucy, I loved the Ghoul. The three protagonists, phenomenally, excellently written and performed characters. Um,
So while we're, I'm going to interject
yeah,
small little
please,
questions here and there. Ella
please.
Purnell, is she from Alita Battle Angel? I recognize her
No, no,
face,
no.
but I don't know where she's
No,
from.
that's Rosa Salazar, who is also
Okay.
amazing. I love Rosa Salazar. If you haven't
It's
seen,
something about her eyes or something that was just like,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
she looks familiar.
Um,
Okay.
oh my God, I'm forgetting the show right now. I mean, obviously she was in Unbound. Rosa Salazar was on Unbound, which you and I both love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But she was in cherry flavored. Oh fuck! It was on Netflix. Um, what was it? Let's see. Oh, hold on. This is driving me crazy that I can't remember.
Yeah,
Oh,
I kind of take it. I take for granted that you have the encyclopedic
yeah,
memory of the names and stuff. So I just kind
yeah.
of just
Cherry.
Eric versus Google. So sorry.
brand new cherry flavor. If you haven't seen that,
Oh,
it's like David Cronenberg meets David Lynch. It's just
oh,
phenomenal. If you haven't seen, you really need to watch it. It's amazing. One of
okay.
my favorite things that the year that it came out, and I love Rosa Salazar. I think she's an amazing actor, but alas, no. It was Ella Purnell that plays Lucy. She's pretty young. I mean, she's like 27. She's only done a couple of things.
Okay.
I've never seen anything else that she's done. This is the first thing that I've seen her in.
Okay.
And I thought she was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, she did a great job. Everybody, the whole cast, like even seeing
Yeah, I'm
can't
really
remember her
angry.
name. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Lieutenant Uhura was there for a moment. Is this her last role before she passed away?
I don't. Was that? Hold on. Let me check.
I thought it was. I thought it was, but maybe I'm just seeing things. But um, the actress' name I can't remember. I always see it on the credits, and I always forget.
Yeah, it's Leslie Uggams. She's a character actor who's been in a million things. You might be.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Okay. She plays Blind Owl in Deadpool. That's the only other place that I've ever seen her.
Oh, okay. Gosh, it's funny. I just kept always. Yeah, as you can see tonight, I am getting actors and actresses completely
No,
mixed up left and right. So
you've got a
yeah.
perfectly reasonable excuse on 3 hours. No, Aaron Moten is Maximus's name, and again, this is another actor who I've never seen before.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I every time he came on the screen, I couldn't wait to see what he was going to do next. Like he was just, I loved how he was so chaotic neutral, right? To couch this in sort of the D&D terms.
Yeah.
And he did things impulsively, but never out of character. And
yeah.
has he gotten the power armor yet? Has he been in the power armor yet? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
How
I
weird
loved
was
how
it
he
that
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, the actor again, who was the actor that plays the knight
Aaron
that was
Moten.
in there first?
Oh yeah, Michael Rappaport? Like
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Like in this bizarre cameo, like he's on screen for 3
I loved
minutes.
it.
Oh, it was
I
great.
loved it.
Oh no, he was great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I was so happy to see him. I was like busting. I was just so yeah. That made to me that made the episode just that's the voice of the guy the whole time. But then seeing the build up, we're doing spoilers I guess here and there, but seeing the build up of how he was acting towards Maximus, it made perfect sense. Like that is the actor that was actually in there the whole time.
Of course.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's great.
No, I mean the cast is phenomenal, and there's so many character actors that you recognize that it's like it's the classic working actors. Like, oh, I've seen you in 1,000 things. I don't know what your name is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just looking at the IMDb, so I'm cheating right now. But Johnny Pemberton, who is in everything, and he plays Maximus's squire for most of the show, and then I can't say you need to watch the rest of this. It's his story arc is so funny. He's a really good actor. It's a really funny comic actor.
So are you finished with? Did you binge watch everything? You're done with season 1?
I did finish season 1. I didn't binge it. I did it over the course of 3 days, which I think is reasonable for 8 episodes.
Yeah.
But yes, I did finish the whole season.
Okay. All right.
But anyway,
you're privy to the entire how it ends and everything for season 1. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm cautious because you're only 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
I have to be careful. I don't remember how episode 2 ended. I mean, the thing that blows me away, and it's this way through the whole course of the series, I feel like they managed to tell like 16 episodes of story in 8 episodes, and they do it extremely well, right?
Yeah, I was impressed. I was impressed with just even the first 2 episodes, how they cram in a lot of content, and I didn't feel too worn out watching it.
The writing is so good. I mean, the writing it blows me away because pretty quickly, and I don't remember if this is established in season 2, but we come back to Lucy's brother, um,
Mhm.
what's his name, Norm, come back to, and he becomes a major character too, and he's got his own story. So now we've got four
Mm.
protagonists,
Oh my gosh.
and it never, at no point did I feel lost, or did I feel things were crowded, or did I
Huh.
think that things were forced. I mean, the writing in this show, it was, I don't know if they can keep it up for season 2, which just got greenlit, but wow. I really, it was absolutely my favorite. Um, it's been my favorite show of the year so far. And admittedly, we're only in April, but still,
Yeah, it's
it,
gonna be
it
tough to top it.
it's going to be tough to top it, right? And this is coming from someone who just loves television, right? Like,
Yeah.
then you add on the fact that I do like Fallout. Again, not a mega fan, but I am a fan of Fallout. Um, it's just like that's the cherry on top. Like watching, it's like watching the Mario movie, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I love that. Oh, that's fun. Oh, what a clever reference, right? Oh, that's a tie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I enjoyed the show so much that I got on Steam. So I already had Fallout 1 and 2 and Fallout Tactics
Hmm.
in my Steam library, and
Hmm.
I played 3 and New Vegas and 4 on console. But I don't really have any consoles plugged in right now that I care to download those games on. And in my old age, I've actually become a PC gamer, not because
Hmm.
I think PC is superior, just because I'm lazy.
Hmm.
Um,
Sure. It's
and
easier.
yeah, and Steam had the entire Fallout series on sale for like $50. And I already owned 1, 2, and Tactics, and I've played Fallout 3 to the dirt, so I don't really have any interest in playing Fallout 3 again. But I never finished Vegas, and I never finished Fallout 4, so I bought both games for $15, right? And
Okay.
so I dove back into Fallout New Vegas. And and I'm gonna do an aside real quick because this is a saga, and apparently, and I knew this about myself, but apparently people notice I tend to tell stories in sagas. I don't tell just
In sagas?
in
Okay.
sagas. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I downloaded Fallout New Vegas, which I remembered liking but never finishing because when I played it originally, it was super buggy. It was crashing constantly, and it was
Hmm.
just like I like this, but I just not. It's not worth me having to stress over the next time the game is going to crash, right? And so I dropped it. I never went back to it. I'm kind of spoiling it a little bit, but there's a reason why I was so excited to play, like to try to revisit New Vegas, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Obviously, there's references in the TV show that explain this, but um, and so with 3 and I never finished 4 because I just got distracted by. Well, we can take this offline. There's reasons why I didn't finish 4, but um,
Hmm.
so I was like, oh my god, I can get Fallout New Vegas with all the DLC, Fallout 4 with all the DLC for $15. Sign me up, you know.
Yeah.
Even if I
Yeah.
never play it, it's like it's not even. It's just like it's not real money. I do so much freelance work within video games that I can just take it as a business expense anyway.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so I installed Fallout 3 and I started playing it. It kept crashing every half hour. Kept crashing every half hour. And then ultimately the save file got corrupted, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I tried it
Yep.
again. I did my best, and I walked away. And I don't know why, but I got on Steam's community boards for Fallout New Vegas, and the top post pinned to the very top is like, Bethesda doesn't support Fallout New Vegas. Here's how you make it run. So
Oh, jeez.
apparently, yeah. So apparently, Gamebryo, which is the game engine that the games Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas were built in, according to, and I don't know, this is all third hand. I've never looked at
Hmm.
the source code,
Sure.
so I don't know for sure.
Hmm.
But the modding community for Fallout says that Bethesda, they abandoned the Gamebryo engine when they moved on to their new graphics engine for Skyrim, and they
Okay.
stopped updating it. And Gamebryo was put together using matchsticks and
Hmm.
Elmer's glue in the first place.
Yeah. Hmm.
And when they stopped supporting it, like Windows 10, Windows 11, it doesn't work anymore. The game engine doesn't work in the modern operating
Yeah.
systems.
Yeah.
and that was why it was crashing so constantly. And that begs a whole other question: how, in good conscience, could Bethesda continue to sell this game on Steam, and how, in good conscience, could Steam still allow this game to be sold? But that's a whole other conversation. Suffice it to say, this pinned post at the very top of the Steam community forums for Fallout New Vegas was like, "Don't worry, we got you. Follow these steps, and the game will work fine." So it's like a 10 or 15 step process where you have to download a modding tool, which I already had installed because I've done modding in the past, and you download these very specific bug fix mods. Apparently, the long and short of it is, modern computers are so fast and so demanding of resources that the graphics engine, or the engine, not the graphics engine, the engine that drives Fallout can't give the information fast enough to modern PCs. God. And so it crashes. Yeah. It is used to a computer only asking for so much information at a time, and it can't handle it with modern systems asking it for much more information. And so there's like basically one mod that you install, and there's like 5 or 6 that fixes all of the bugs. But the main mod that you install basically solves that disconnect between the speed of modern operating systems and what the game engine is capable of handling. So anyway, I went through, I installed all these mods, and I have now put in 25 hours into the game, and it's crashed only twice, which for a Bethesda game is remarkable, right?
Remarkable, yes, that's amazing. And again, this kind of speaks back to being on PC, because you're able to do this. You can't do this on a console.
Okay, so in full, within the full context of it, the Xbox 360 is the Xbox 360. It's not changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if I went and I found a copy, I don't have those copies anymore, because after I got divorced, my ex-wife took those copies of the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And so I'd have to track down a copy of New Vegas to play. I guess I could download it, but I don't even have my Xbox 360 plugged in.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know if Fallout New Vegas is emulated on Xbox One, and I just was too lazy to look, right? That's basically why I just downloaded it on Steam.
Yeah.
If I had taken the time and I did play it on a platform that it was originally released on, with all of the patches that they did over the year or two that the game was relevant, it would have been fine. I wouldn't have had to deal with any of this, right? It's only because I'm playing on a PC that does continue to advance, that does continue to get more powerful, that I saw these problems.
So here's where we're going to get kind of nerdy a little bit.
Yeah, let's nerd it. Let's nerd it up. No one's watching tonight anyway.
Yeah, but I feel I felt that I had that same feeling for the most part with console versus PC until I started playing Skyrim.
Right.
And that's the newer game, right? And I ran into quest-ending bugs on that Skyrim 360 version of that game, which I know, because I found the solutions, they're all PC. Mm-hmm. So no matter what, I felt like if I was to play Fallout on the Xbox 360, because I have this knack for doing it anyway, I'd find some sort of game-ending bug where I'd be trapped with it, and I would have been just locked into that console because they weren't going to support it anymore, and I would have been trapped. And this is why, again, I think PC wins, because no matter what, somebody somewhere is working on some sort of fix that you can hope eventually in a year or two you can go back and revisit the game.
Yep.
Skyrim, I still have unfinished, and this is where I lost interest in Bethesda. It's based on Skyrim. Great game up until 3 or 4 quest bugs where I want to be a completionist and I couldn't do them, and there was no support for it.
Yeah.
So that's the flip side. This is why I always think ultimately that's why PC always wins. Unless you mod your Xbox 360, I don't know why you do that, because then you're dealing with the Ring of Death.
There's a whole other thing, but
it's a whole other thing. So that's the only thing I want to throw back the other way, which is why I think you picked the right path. Either out of simplicity, out of laziness, it doesn't matter. You end up with a PC and you're able to tweak it.
And the game, and this is how I will say like you have to couch it in the reality though that we're I'm lucky that Fallout is a brand that is so adored that there is a
Yeah.
community that
Yeah.
wants to do this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like not all games have people who are willing to spend the time that they spend to make these games work, right? To preserve these games and then keep them playable. But Fallout is a franchise that is beloved enough that it will find people who will fix the issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fortunate in that regard because I was really bummed because I was enjoying. I mean, New Vegas is great, and I know, like there's kind of an internet meme where it's just like the last thing that you want to do is ask a Fallout New Vegas fan what their favorite Fallout game is. I love Fallout New Vegas. I have been really digging it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it feels like you're in a minority because it seems like everybody rips on New Vegas.
They did at
reason,
they did at the beginning. They did at the beginning.
Okay.
But again, on console and Windows XP or whatever the operating system was when it came out, once they fixed the bugs, Fallout New Vegas is great. Like unequivocally, like inarguably great. The only thing that I will say is like I like it as much as Fallout 3, right? Like I don't like it more than 3. I like it as much as 3.
Okay.
And 4 I liked, but there were a lot of things that drove me crazy. I couldn't stand the addition of all the base building stuff in 4. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. But in the early game, they force you to go through all these tutorials.
Yeah, to show off all the new stuff that they got, right?
Exactly. And then once you jump through those hoops, it's like, cool, excuse me, I'm going to go play the game I actually want to play.
Yeah.
And you can ignore it, right? But like the first, I don't know, almost 10 hours of Fallout 4, at some level, they've got you going back to Sanctuary. They're like, no, really, you should do the whole town building thing. You should definitely go do this. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I've jumped through those hoops. Now I'm going to go and like completely ignore this game mechanic because I could not care less about this. Like, that's not what I love about Fallout, right?
Yeah.
And that actually, like, transitioning away from just the fandom of it, this ties back into a conversation we've had multiple times where so much of experiences have to do with, I mean, not so much, but how experiences are impacted by aesthetics. Because if you were to take Fallout, modern Fallout, not the original 2 games, but modern Fallout, and current Elder Scrolls games, you remove the trappings of the aesthetics, removed the fantasy aesthetics, remove the post-apocalyptic aesthetics.
You just go gray box it?
Just gray boxes. The games are functionally indistinguishable, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's slight differences in how you level up and how you allocate stat points and skill points, yada, yada, yada. But functionally, they're effectively the same game, right?
Yeah.
I played 30 hours of Skyrim, 5 hours of Oblivion. I never could get into Daggerfall, right? I've never played Arena, and I couldn't care less about Elder Scrolls 6, right? Or 5, 6. And it has to do with the fantasy setting. Outside of Lord of the Rings, fantasy settings just aren't that interesting to me. But once you throw things in a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear wasteland, now you're speaking my language, right? I don't know what it is about just the nature of the world and what the monsters are and just the fiction that holds it all together. I find Fallout way more compelling aesthetically, and therefore I like the game more. Not based on mechanics at all, because again, gray box, they're Skyrim and Fallout 4 functionally basically the same game. But I would much rather play Fallout than any of the Elder Scrolls games ever, right? And it has a lot to do with the nature of the weapons that you're using. I much prefer guns to swords, right?
Hmm.
I much prefer post-nuclear Fallout to fantasy settings. And it just, I would much prefer the ruins of a concrete building over a log cabin. Pure and simple, right? Like I just find more interesting to explore. And so I think, that is maybe the most perfect example of how, because we've talked about how, like, I love Monster Hunter, but I don't love, Elden Ring or Dark Souls.
Sure.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it boils down to aesthetics. Well, this is like, that's still a bit of an, apples to oranges comparison. But this is like, this is
Pretty much
the perfect example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of how aesthetics can impact your perception of the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. On the flip side, I think that was the same for me. And the thing is, I'll play anything for the most part. I played Dark Souls. I mean, I jump around all over the place, but yeah, for some reason, and I knew just playing the game, I knew exactly what Skyrim was, exactly what you just said. If you grade box it, they're the exact same game, except for I believe Fallout has that slow motion system where you can slow motion and sever things. So that's different than Skyrim. I don't think. I don't believe it had that.
No, not to my memory.
Yeah, so that makes it very unique to Fallout. That one little mechanic does kind of separate it for me. But I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. I just could not get into the game. And I love post-apoc. Like I think we talked about this before a couple weeks ago. I was playing Mad Max, and I think that's a game you need to play. If you want post-apocalyptic stuff, it feels like a natural sequel in a way, or a prequely kind of tie-in to the George Miller stuff. They were definitely fans of the movies and it shows in that game. But that's just an aside. Like, so that game I was playing, but here was Fallout. I just couldn't get into it for some reason. But Skyrim, I played it to death until those stupid bugs started happening, and then I've never touched a Bethesda game after that. As a result, because I think during my days at Activision, when I used to do QA for them and everything, I think I got really snobby with bugs with the game. If the game has too many bugs, I will put it down and just hit the eject button. That's the one time I will hit the eject button really quickly. But more than that, more often than not, I'm pretty forgiving. Yeah. So, because I had to always document bugs all the time, like it just hammered in my head.
Yeah.
And so when I keep seeing it happen over and over again, there's something that I get trained in the back of my mind going, yeah, it's not good. And I just kind of put it aside. But yeah, I did enjoy Skyrim. But yeah, Fallout, the world is incredible to look at, I think. It was fun. It was cool. It just didn't resonate with me. And it had Liam Neeson too. And I love Liam Neeson, but this wasn't enough, I guess.
Well, wasn't Patrick Stewart in Oblivion for like 2 seconds? Didn't he? He played the king of whatever world that you were in at the beginning of the game, and then is killed in the first 5 minutes of the game. He's like,
so funny.
I think he has like. Let me check. Let me check. Yeah. He was Patrick Stewart played the voice of Uriel Septim in Oblivion, and he was in the game for about 2 seconds. And
that's hilarious.
So Liam Neeson was in the game for about 5 minutes. So they really increased their star power for.
Apparently, that's so funny.
Speaking of like just celebrity gossip, so the whoever was, and I don't know if he still is, but I think it's Tim Kring or whatever. Tim King, I think. He's married to Linda Carter, who famously used to play Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, yeah.
And so for the longest time, every Bethesda game that had voice acting, he would cast her in at least one role or another.
Well,
it was hilarious. That's
the perks of being on it. Yeah.
It's so funny.
That reminds me of like Majel Barrett on the Roddenberry soundtracks. Like she was always cast as.
Okay, but come on, like Waxana Troy though, like she was great. Come on.
Yeah, she was terrific. I'm not complaining at all. I just think she was terrific. Way better than her OG as what was she in the OG? Like
she played No. She played. Well, I mean, well, yes, she played Nurse Barrett or something. But no, in the
Okay.
pilot, she played number one,
Oh,
who Rebecca Romaine is playing now in Strange New Worlds, and she's
okay.
doing great at it, by the way.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
But yeah, she played number one in the pilot, and then they didn't because it's the fucking '60s and everything was awful in the '60s and '50s. They didn't like a woman being in that much position of power.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, Roddenberry tried, and
He
that's the main
tried.
thing. He tried,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
and he still left an impact for even trying. He did so much with Star Trek. That's what I love about.
Mm-hmm.
That's a side perk about the show. That's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
He always tries to keep a spirit of trying to push stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, we're
I
getting
know,
off
now
our charted course with
right,
Fallout.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, like we're to bring it back to the show, and I'm hesitant to talk too much about it because you're only like a quarter of the way through it, but I mean, just the everything about it is good. The writing is exceptional. The acting is exceptional. The directing is excellent. And the thing that blows me away the most is how much of it is practical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they actually shot in Namibia. They built all these sets. You know, the ghoul, other than his nose, is completely. It's all makeup. It's not CG, right? I mean, Walton Goggins spent 4.5, 5 hours every morning in the makeup chair getting prepped to play that character. Like just the costumes are stellar. I don't know. I love that the route that they went with it, right? I mean, there's a ton of CG in it, and that's fine, but
But they'd use it in the right spots.
they use it in the right
Yeah.
spots. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. They know what they're doing because practical effects are always awesome to see, and again with our with our human eyes we can kind of see and pick it up. And then I think you have it's a common thing that you always mention about, am I watching a 3D cartoon or am I actually watching a film?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Marvel movies are a good example of that.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys, at least the first two episodes, like it was a nice mixture of both. You could, yeah, it felt like it was done the right way so far. It sounds like, and that's great that it sounds like it's like that
Oh
through the
yeah.
whole show.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
you haven't gotten to Philly yet, right? You haven't had that amazing shootout in downtown Philly yet, have you? I don't remember which episode that is.
That's one where the Ghoul and Maximus have their fight.
Yeah.
In the
Okay,
town
so
square.
that is
Yeah.
second episode. Okay.
It's great. It's a great sequence.
It's all real too. Like that. It's
Yeah,
all a
yeah,
set.
yeah.
They built
Yeah.
that set. I mean,
It's
it
so cool. You know what's
blew
funny
me
though?
away.
Yeah, and maybe it's because they have Amazon Studios behind them, so they have money to spend. So it's crazy if you have a good enough budget, what you can do. But
Yeah.
again, like going back to even the most recent movie that I think you and I both really enjoyed, but Godzilla minus one
Yeah.
had practical effects and special effects for
Yeah.
$10 million, right? So it
Yeah.
can be done, and
It
so
can
these
be
guys are
done.
smart.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think the biggest I like just doing more A/B tests, kind of, or rather tests, but comparisons. Halo, which is just awful, and I would not recommend that movie to anybody or that TV show to anybody. It's abysmally bad. I watched season 1 because of a job that I had.
Okay.
It was embarrassing. Like it not only did it not do the show justice, not only did it not honor fans,
Mm-hmm.
but it was badly written.
Oh,
And
jeez.
it was like just a CG fest from frame 1 to frame last, and it was just like because it's a game adaptation into a TV show. I think it's an apropos comparison. Like Halo is how you do it wrong, and Fallout is how you do it right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm gushing a lot, but really, the Fallout may be my favorite thing that I've seen this year.
Mhm.
It's just it was It's better than it had any right to be. Um, I know, like when it's just the standard knee jerk reaction when I heard that they were doing a Fallout TV show. I'm like, well, this is going to be garbage. I mean, that's just sort
Yeah,
of
I
your,
thought. Yep, I
you
felt the
know,
same way.
yeah,
I was a little bit worried, but I didn't have that much skin in the game because again, I don't trust Bethesda
yeah, yeah.
anymore. So I was like, whatever. Um, but I'm happy. I'm happy when a video game adaptation comes through because in this case, I mean, it just shows again if the writing's good, it'll work.
Yep, absolutely,
And yeah, I'm really
absolutely.
happy for the success for it. I know a lot of people are raving about. It felt like last year they're raving about Last of Us. I was nonplussed by it. I still enjoyed the game more. But a
Full,
lot of
con-
people, I think,
yeah.
you know,
Full compa-
um,
full confession. The only episode that I thought was worth anything was episode 3, and that didn't even
uh-huh.
have Pedro Pascal or what's her face in it, right? Like it was just Nick Offerman and
Oh, it was great. It was a great episode.
what's his name? The guy
Yeah,
who played Murray in season 1 of White Lotus.
yeah,
Shit, I don't remember his name, but anyway, it doesn't matter. That was like an amazing hour of television, right?
yeah. It was. It was. Yeah, the relationship was really. You felt the heartstrings on that
Oh my
episode.
god! And it didn't
Really
even.
well written.
To me, that's a testament to how uninteresting the rest of the show was. I mean, for me, like, I'm speaking for me, of course. I didn't care about the rest of the season, but that episode was great. That's not good because the main characters weren't even in that episode. I mean, they were very briefly, but they weren't in that episode. You know?
And what's even funnier is if I don't know if you played through all of Last of Us or not, but
No,
that sequence doesn't even happen at
no,
all in the game.
no.
It's just
It was
spoken.
a
It's
yeah.
like
It was a
going through like
note.
little letters and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
one note,
yeah.
and you don't even know. And you get a hint of their relationship, but nothing like what the writers really had a fun time doing
Yeah,
that. What I
there's
would
no
consider
question.
a filler episode, but it was a great like that's a justification for doing a filler episode. It really adds.
Great hour of television.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
I never finished I never finished Last of Us,
Mhm.
because Last of Us to me was sort of a perfect storm of here's how to make a game that Eric is not going to be interested in. Um, you know, uh, have a crafting system that you can't ignore. So you have to
Yeah.
do this. It's the only way you can get any of your supplies. You have to collect everything and constantly be thinking about crafting. Zombies, which I hate. Not because I don't, not because zombies as a concept is bad, but just because the video game industry and movie industry and the TV industry have so oversaturated
Yeah, it's
zombies
true.
that they're just not interesting anymore. And stealth cover based combat mechanics.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I guess you don't like any of that stuff, man. You're missing
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And then
Bummer.
also like I'm of that age where vast majority of my friends all have children, right?
Hmm.
And they talk about like, oh, when I played that game and the father daughter bond between the two characters Joel and Ellie, it just got me. Like I was just in tears through the whole game, and I'm like, yeah, it didn't impact me. Like that
Yeah,
part. I mean, I guess I could relate to it, but I didn't. I don't know. I guess it takes more to get my emotional engine running when it comes to that sort of familial relationship. And maybe it is just because I don't have a daughter, and so I can't relate to it in that way.
yeah. I mean, for me, so I don't have kids either. But I was really moved by that game.
Yeah.
So I'm the opposite side of that. So I don't know. It just made. Yeah, I didn't have to. I guess. I guess for me, it was just a good story. I just really enjoyed it
Mm-hmm.
for what it was. But yeah, I didn't have any of that emotional resonance. I would imagine if you have a child, then maybe you get even more out of it. But at least for me, I got plenty out of it as a game player. Yeah. But yeah, it sounds like it just wasn't a game made for you.
No,
in
no,
a,
right,
in the
exactly.
most superficial way. It doesn't sound like it was right up your
Actually,
alley.
not. I mean, I disagree in the most fundamental way, right? Like
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
no gameplay mechanics that appealed to me in The Last of Us, right? The
But
entire game.
So on the flip side, though, did you enjoy Assassin's Creed 1, 2, or 3? Like it has all that stealthy kind of stuff too, or
Yeah, but I enjoyed those games before I burnt out on stealth mechanics,
oh,
before I burnt
okay,
out on
all right,
open world mechanics. Those
okay,
games, like they they invented. I mean, Assassin's Creed in
yeah,
particular invented the
yeah,
modern open world game, right? For
yeah,
better or
mm-hmm,
worse. Um,
yeah,
I mean, the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy, which is a weird thing to say, but it is Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and
yeah, mm-hmm,
Revelations. Well, I played too many games. I couldn't even remember the title of it for a second. Ezio's sort of storyline from
mm-hmm,
youth to old man is maybe one of my favorite character arcs in all of video games, right?
yeah,
Um, and Assassin's Creed 2 really figured out mechanically what they were trying to do
mm-hmm,
in
yeah,
Assassin's Creed 1, right? And
yeah,
the way that the way that Revelations ties, like they bring Altair back into the
mm-hmm,
game, was
yeah,
phenomenal, right? Like really
yeah,
did that character justice. And then also Istanbul and the Hagia Sophia, like the Hagia
mm-hmm,
Sophia is one of my. I mean, like I want to go to Istanbul just so I can walk around. It may be one of
uh-huh,
my favorite pieces of grand architecture ever created.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, and so like yeah, just the environment and like kind of doing Altair justice from Assassin's Creed 1. I mean, those three games were just phenomenal, right? I
yeah,
loved all three of those games. Um, but I loved all three of those games when the mechanics that they were implementing were novel and
was
they were still
yeah, was
interesting.
fresh and new. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm,
get it.
mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I mean, I
Yeah, by
don't.
the time Last of Us 2 came around, it was a little bit more.
Yeah.
It was right on the. It started getting peak uh, crouch and hide games. Started really becoming a thing.
Yep.
Felt like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
100%.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I could go back and actually play Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood or Revelations again at this
Mm,
point because I'm still to this day so burnt out on open world mechanics, modern
yeah,
open world mechanics, and still so
yeah,
burnt out on stealth combat and that kind of stuff. It's just I
mm,
don't know that I could really get back into it.
yeah,
But
yeah. Well,
anyway, we've been going for almost an hour now.
I know
Pretty
it's
strong.
crazy. And I've been working
I
on.
told you tonight
Yeah,
was going to be one of those nights.
and it feels like we still have a little bit left to go on that, but there's plenty of other stuff to talk about.
Oh
I didn't even
yeah,
get a chance to talk to you about Hades, for example. This roguelike I kind of picked up and started dabbling with. We can say that for next week's stream.
yeah.
But yeah, but by the time I maybe I'll get more episodes down for Fallout, and we'll gush some more about it next week. Who knows?
Who
At this point.
knows? Yeah, I'm curious to see
Yeah,
if it holds up its momentum. I mean, for me, it got going and then it never stopped, right? But
yeah, it's
um,
great.
yeah. But I'm curious
Um,
to see what your thoughts are once you manage to make it through the whole season.
we will probably by the end of this week. We'll get there. Um, I mean, as we kind of wrap up, I'll just show you the pose of that the pose of Calamity getting kicked out. I've been kind of sitting on here for a little bit, but yeah, there's she actually gets kicked off screen now.
Nice.
And also it's kind of funny. What's funny is the pose itself, like, I actually have a little bit of pre-built-in animation here. We could probably use that for someplace else
Yeah.
where it's just really subtle, but it's just like tweaking the shapes and stuff like that. Again, where we have some flexibility with the tail. Like you can see how it kind of shrinks and elongates because she's getting thrown off off screen. But what's funny is you don't see any of that really. You see a
Yeah.
little bit subtle stuff by Savage Leaves, but this pose is now done, and we could use it someplace else, as we talked about at the top of
Yeah.
the top of our stream. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot here for tonight. Yeah, I have to tweak a little bit of things. I noticed the hoodie is a little bit off here, so I got to fix that. But yeah, some small stuff here and there. But for the most part, I think we're in good shape
Mm-hmm.
for tonight's stream. So
Excellent.
yeah,
All right. Well, then I think we'll wrap it up there. As always, you can head on over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you right to our Patreon site. And please consider subscribing and joining us and helping us make this cartoon a reality. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you already have because you're watching this stream. We're also on Instagram at calamityjanesalamander. Check us out there. We do semi-regular posts depending on our availabilities. But we do. It's an active channel. We like to post new photos there and that kind of stuff, behind the scenes stuff, sketch art, thumbnails, that kind of thing. So check it out. Otherwise, I think we'll be back same Salamander time, same Salamander channel next week. Unless you've got something going on. All right. Excellent. So otherwise, thanks for joining us, everybody, and stay safe out there. And we will see you next time. Good night.
Thanks.